They chose their king, their power was met, but we don't answer to Ottawa yet. No crown gave us what we've earned, just dirt and fire and lessons learned. Now the ground it shakes, the steel it groans, and Alberta walks alone. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free. From the rigs to the rails, the crops to the code, we lit their streets, we bore their load. They laughed at pride, they mocked the West, but freedom don't die, it just waits for the test. The cowboys ride, the farmers rise, 5 million strong under open skies. No leash, no lie, no foreign throne. This land is steel and it stands alone. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free. Can't kill the mountain, can't drown the plain, can't burn the spirit that won't be chained. He stares down east with a calloused hand and says, this time we draw the line in the land. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free.
Welcome. It's 7-Eleven Daily Summary with Bruce Scholl. I'm excited to be here, excited to be with you. What an extraordinary time to be alive. Thank you very much for joining me. If you are here watching, just make sure to share this out. Get some more eyeballs on this information. We have got to wake more people up. Join the band, join the crew. We've got to join hands, join arms, whatever you need. You know, we've got to wake them up, you guys. Get them off the couch, get them to turn off CBC, and get them to pay attention to what is actually happening. Our poor Canada, our poor Canada. All right, like I say, I am excited to be here. We are living through extraordinary times, and if you're following me, if you're watching, we are in the throes of some major stuff. Obviously, we are nearing the end of 2025. This is December 30th, 2025. But I brought on a guest, and we've been talking about silver. Obviously, you've probably seen it. The meteoric rise of silver, gold, and platinum are in that same sort of, I guess, increase or rise or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it is definitely exploding. And we're going to get into why it's exploding, what's going on, where you need to be. And I continue to say that I'm not your investment advisor, but you got to have silver and gold to protect your family's wealth. It is critical, I believe. And David and I are going to be talking about some interesting times ahead. All right, we're going to get into unscrewing some news, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I want to say thanks, first of all, to friends, family, and God for actually putting me in this position. I'm grateful to be used in this manner. And the last 5 years have really, really, I guess, probably changed a lot of us. And Unscrew the News sort of came out of that, born out of the necessity to unravel what we are being fed on a daily basis. Anyway, I want to say thanks to that process that brought me here, but as well, I like to support local businesses. And again, I'm not your investment advisor, but nuggetstacker.com, local business. A local business right here in Calgary will get you gold and silver subscription. It's a great way to get in monthly. You just pay for it, and it'll show up at your door when you hit the allotted amount. But anyway, if you have any questions, 866-644-2121, nuggetstacker.com. Go right through my website for a little bit of a discount at unscrewthenews.com. Look for their logo, click on that, and it'll take you to the website, and you'll get a bit of a discount on your gold and silver. Get it now. This is the right time. It's always the right time to get gold and silver. David and I are going to talk about that in a second. I'm very excited, as you can tell. But I'm coming to you from the heart of the battle-ready nation of Alberta. We bring you truth and optimism. Our goal is to break free from the media and the globalist mind control. It is December 30th, 2025. This is probably the last episode that I'll do. It's episode number 244, Silver Linings, Alberta, and David Parker. I want to welcome David Parker. Thank you very much for joining me, sir. It is such a pleasure to have you. As you and I have been talking about gold and silver, and over the last few days, it's really extraordinary and exciting time to be talking about it.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for having me on, Bruce. I always have enjoyed your show, and I see you're growing regularly, so that's very good to see. But when you told me that you wanted to talk about silver, I was like, I got to get this in between Christmas activities, because obviously this Christmas has been an absolutely wild time for silver. I would say the last 72 hours roughly have been some of the craziest of my life. Just with what's happened and the parabolic move that we're seeing. I had a post on X that got over 8 million views about banks. So it's just been a wild, bit of a wild ride. Got 3,000 new followers on X. And yeah, it's been, I actually did a little bit of research. Apparently there's quite a lot of social, psychological impact when you suddenly get that much attention. And to be fair, I've received a fair amount of attention over the last 4 years, but never that much. And it was quite something, I must say.
Wow. Okay, I'm looking for that post right now because I wanted to talk about that. Let's start talking about that. And one of the things that we sort of need to touch on just briefly is obviously Alberta independence. And yes. I think that silver has, and what's happening in the market may help us. But you and I should probably talk about what you see happening for that. I wanted to bring up this one post here.
Okay.
There's a couple posts actually I want to bring up. The one that you posted in regard to the bank, we'll talk about in a second. But I want to share this one. Hang on 1 second. Let me just drop that in here. From Joe Lang, it says, do you understand what's happening? The cabal controlled the entire world's centralized debt system through the Federal Reserve. When too big to fail banks are begging the Fed for cash liquidation overnight, everything has changed. Here's what you are witnessing. Silver is breaking the corrupt banking system. The Fed is being forced to step in and prop up corrupt system injections of cash. Gold will destroy the Fed when Trump declares a return to gold standard and the new gold-backed dollar competes with the fiat Federal Reserve note. Game, set, match. What do you have to say about that?
I can't speak to whether or not Trump would do something like this. He has said that it's going to be a new golden age, so maybe that's a bit of a hint. I know that people like to read into everything that he says and believe that there's some kind of secret agenda behind every little thing that he does, everything that he wears, all that kind of stuff. I've been around him a little bit. I've been around some of the people that are very close to him much more. Obviously, Tucker on that tour, and then Megyn Kelly on her tour, and then all the guests that they had on those tours. So I'd say I have like I have an interesting place to observe these things from, and I would say that they're a very dedicated group of people towards an objective of saving their nation, right? I think anybody who looks, I mean, it's funny because even the left is all talking about all the problems that America's facing,
Yeah.
and those problems are mostly caused by the left, in my opinion, but they're caused by a lot of things. Number one, of course, apathy, and citizens who no longer engage in their society in a way that can transform it or change it. Because I actually believe this is largely to do with the education system. If you believe that you're just matter and dust, and that basically everything that you do is predetermined by biology and sociology and psychology and all the ologies, if you just believe that, you're basically not a free will being, which is funny because they are always promoting things like human rights and free will and freedom and all that kind of stuff. But our education system basically teaches people that they're just a chemical reaction.
Sure.
And if you
you read
believe
into
that,
you read into a lot more than I thought. Sorry, I was gonna just say, I was wondering what you thought about the cabal controlled the entire world's centralized debt system. When too big to fail banks are begging the Fed for cash overnight, everything has changed. Just in regard to that, let's just leave Trump out of this. But
I mean, obviously, it's not the first time that we've seen really high repo rates. We saw tons in 2008. We saw tons during COVID. So these aren't even the highest repo rates that we've ever seen. So I don't know if I would go so far as to say that is a signal that everything is collapsing right now. However, I think there are deeper, more meaningful signals that show that we definitely are collapsing. And the biggest one, of course, is that we've printed in the last 4 years more money globally than we had up to that point in all of human history, right? So
100%.
we're going to be going into a massive inflationary cycle. I mean, the funny thing about people in the West is they're pretty myopic, right? They only really pay attention to themselves or maybe like their allies. But let's take a look at Iran for a second. They're seeing 30% yearly inflation rates right now. And that's pretty bad considering how bad it already was. So we're seeing that. Lebanon, we saw it.
Yeah.
We saw it in Argentina. We're seeing it all over the world. And the reason for that is that eventually when you're spending the amount of money that all global governments are spending right now, you will accumulate so much debt that your interest payments, no matter how small interest rates are, and they're actually still historically very low, no matter how low they get, they're going to cost you more than you can afford. And I think America's already reached that point. I think Canada's already reached that point. But I think the stat that I always go to is that the American government now spends more on the interest on their debt than they do on the American military.
Right.
So once you're spending more servicing your debt than you are, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The American military is the most powerful military in the history of the world, and there's no question about that. The firepower they have, the amount they spend on it, the amount of equipment they have. I mean, they're basically holding Russia off with just sending a bunch of their tech to Ukraine. And we don't have to get into that, but like America is the most powerful military in the world, and there's nobody else that's close. And I think what Israel and Iran and America did to Iran is an example of that. And we can go into those details if you want. But the point is, when the biggest military in the world, that is basically the military of the global hegemon, the second, you could argue the British Empire was the first,
Sure.
but the second global empire. If they are spending more on servicing their debt than they are on their military, then you know that we're in a very dangerous place.
Some people call it deep doo-doo.
No, yeah, it's bad.
Doo-doo.
It's very, very bad. So to go back to the tweet, I think that it's directionally right while maybe being, specifically wrong. We are seeing the collapse, but the Federal Reserve is held up in the same way that, say, the World Economic Forum is, right? As like, this is the bad guy. This is who's doing this. And I don't like the Federal Reserve. I hate them. I hate government money. But the real problem isn't actually, in my opinion, the Federal Reserve. It's the entire worldview and philosophic underpinnings of the fiat system, which we've been, basically on for 100 years. You could, some people would say it's been about 150, but
So are you saying the
basically
whole
since
banking system? Are you saying the banking system
no,
in
the
general?
fiat system. So
Yeah.
fiat is money that government creates. So
Sure.
the term that most people use is the money printers, right? Because
Yeah.
back in the day when we used primarily bills, they would print the money.
Mhm.
Fiat is money because the government says it's money,
Right. And then there's
and
nothing backing it.
there's nothing besides, well, and everyone says, well, there's the whole government backing it. Sure, but the problem with that, this is a problem that the Romans faced, the Byzantines faced, the English have faced, the French have faced. Almost every government, every empire has always got to the point where they suddenly realized that they could just print more money. The Romans did it by cutting off the corners of their
Yes.
coins,
Yes.
and that was called inflation at the time. But it always goes the same way. Governments begin to think they're smarter than the people, they're smarter than reality, and they begin to just say, well, we'll just create more and we'll give more wealth to our friends and we'll control the means of production for money. And if you control the means of production for money, then you have fiat. And so when they got off the gold standard, when Nixon pegged gold, you could argue that was like the final blow to sound money. And then we've been in a fiat world ever since. I think it was Voltaire that said all fiat currency goes to its actual value, which is zero. But when you were referring back to that tweet that you brought up, I think what's important to understand is that the system itself is what is broken, not a single institution. Believing that money is something that governments create is the problem. And I think Bitcoin has done a very good job of creating a large global army of people who understand and believe that. Now, as with all things, you can make it an idol. You can believe that it's the be all end all. It's the perfect solution, right? I mean, I've been in politics long enough to know that a lot of people feel that way about politics, right? That's the solution. That's the thing that will fix everything. And I don't agree with them on that. I don't think that Bitcoin is the only answer or even necessarily the best answer, but I think that it has educated a lot of people in the difference between sound money and fiat currency. And now we're sitting in a situation that I think is amazing personally, where hundreds of millions of people around the globe are either one of two things: stackers, which, or they're, well, both are stackers. Either they're stacking Bitcoin, and I have very close friends and family who've been doing that for years. And then there's stackers who are stacking ounces. I'm currently more in that category. I've been studying that particular thesis very intently for 4 years. 2 years, or almost 2 years ago, about 20 months ago, I did a tour across Alberta called Take Back Your Money, where I advised people to buy Bitcoin. At that time, it was, I think, in the 30s, maybe in the or 30,000 or 40,000.
Yeah.
And then but my big thesis and most of my speech was introducing my friend Micah Haynes, who's a gold and silver bullion dealer. He mostly does business in the States, but I wanted him to present his thesis because he's one of my best friends and we talk a lot, and he was the one that got me onto this in a very big way. Now I've read a lot of books and done a ton of my own study of charts, and we talk about it all the time. I pretty much talk to him every day about it, but brought him on that tour. Advised, I think about 550 or 600 people attended that tour, and advised everybody there to buy silver. That was when silver was, I believe, 26 or 27 US an ounce, so close to like 35, 40, somewhere in that range Canadian. And I've been obsessed I've been obsessed for 4 years, I would say. Ever since COVID, I've been obsessed with sound money, Bitcoin, and so money itself and what is value. Those became kind of my main personal passions. And I've been working on building businesses and investments and trying to figure that question out. I've always been very interested in economics. I did half of a master's at Carleton in international monetary theory. I left because Jason Kenney asked me to run Central Alberta Forum, And I thought that was more important at the time than getting my master's. And I agree with that assessment even to this day, because
Yeah.
I don't know what good that master's would have done me. But I do know I am an economist of sorts, more of an amateur economist than by education. But I think my wins in the markets and my ability to build businesses and even political movements show that I might even be better than the economists.
Well, maybe you got the school of hard knocks, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I've learned the school of hard knocks. Definitely.
Hey, David, I have a question from a viewer here, Bonnie Meikle.
Oh, good old Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Are you seeing an increase in buying of platinum? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that all of the precious metals are going to go on a run. Obviously platinum has been on a run. I think it's going to go further on a run. Right now, I think the platinum to silver ratio is very low. I think that there should be a lot. Platinum is historically more valuable than gold, or has been throughout my lifetime. So it would have to go quite far to overtake gold right now. I'm not sure whether it will or not. I'm not a platinum expert by any means. The only time I'm seeing platinum is when it's thrown up on the screen with other metals. And I mean, I wouldn't say that I have OCD, but there's probably a little bit of, slight autism or Asperger's in how obsessive I get about things. And right now it's silver. So
silver. Yeah.
That's okay. My whole life.
Speaking of silver, we're going to talk about this right now. This is your post from December 28th. And this is the one that sort of blew up, I believe. And do you want to talk about this a bit?
Yeah. So I just was out at my parents' house with my son watching the silver price. And there's kind of 5 or 6 main places that I go just to scan the news. I go to Wall Street Silver on Reddit, obviously X. I'm on a lot watching this kind of stuff. Obviously, I read COMEX reports and then follow the price. I follow it on silverprice.org because it follows every market. So it's not just COMEX or just Shanghai or whatever. It's kind of a amalgamation of those things. So that's usually where I follow the price. But I found on Reddit someone had posted this the screenshot that I took of someone reporting it. I can't remember the guy's name. I read it somewhere, but so I just posted it. I throw stuff up on my X all the time, screenshots and things. I have an average of, I think, 20 or 30 posts a day. And I looked at it, I don't know, 2 hours later, and it had 500,000 views on it. And it proceeded to get, 8 million, which is very uncommon for me and very uncommon for an account my size. And it's especially uncommon because, as far as I'm aware, Elon Musk did not interact with that tweet at all. So very interesting. And then, of course, it got community noted, which I think is BS. But the reason they probably did that is because it demonetizes the impressions.
Oh, really? Wow, I didn't know that.
But it doesn't matter. Like,
that's not why you put it up there.
Maybe I would have. Oh, I didn't. I put it up there because I love silver. I want to see the banks go down. I hate banks, especially after what happened with the Freedom Convoy and them just bowing to the order to freeze people's bank accounts. I obviously have had my own issues with being debanked by Scotiabank and have a deep dislike for them and their entire apparatus. And so, I just posted it and it suddenly went super viral. This is not confirmed yet, and I have not found confirmation of it, but I did get an awful lot of DMs, and I have a big global network just through life and all the work that I do. And it's come down to, it's probably a European bullion bank. And if you I'll see if I can send this to you, but they just came out with a report.
You can share if you have it. You can share.
I'll see if I can find it here. I I talk to a lot of people throughout the day, and I can sometimes not even remember who I sent it to.
No, of course not.
But there was a report that came out, I believe it was today, on the shorts, and the American banks are now long silver. So
Right.
there's more American banks that hold long positions than short positions, is basically what it is. But the European banks are still massive.
Still
Oh, here
in
it
a
is. I
short
got it.
position. Yeah.
You said I can bring it up?
Yeah, you
How do
should
I-
be able
I'm
to
just
share
going to
it.
send it to you so that
Sure.
you can bring it up. But yeah, so from this report, I believe it's the COMEX, but it might be somebody else. From this, it's CMX Silver. From this, I'm just sending it to you on X here.
Yes,
there
sir.
you go. You should have it.
Got it.
From this report, it looks like the European banks are 43,000 contracts, or 32% of all contracts, short silver right now. And there are, there's all kinds of theories floating around the internet. I happen to be kind of not a founding member because I'm not like known in the community, but I was there at the beginning of GameStop and Roaring Kitty and DVF and everything that happened with the short squeeze there.
Okay.
I was there at the beginning for the short squeeze at Tesla. Palantir was a call that I made 5 years ago, and it actually surpassed the price that I had given it at that time. So if I study anything in the markets, if I'm an expert in anything, if I put my 10,000 hours into any financial or economic idea, it's the idea of a short squeeze. I know that they're just interesting. I love these big, powerful moves, these these events that shock people. Yep. So I studied them quite intently, and that was what brought me to my silver thesis. But when you look at now that you've got it pulled up here, you see that it's not the U.S. banks that are in a problem right now. Like everyone wants it to be J.P. Morgan. Everybody wants it to be a Bank of America, whoever, right? They've all got theories, but the numbers say it's Europe. Europe is massively short silver, and they're being squeezed because you got to consider that every one of those 49,689 future contracts is worth 5,000 ounces of silver per contract.
Really?
So when you do the math, you're looking at, let's do the math. 5,000 times 49. It's somewhere in the 250 million range, but let me just do the math here just to make sure I'm right. Yeah, it's 248 million ounces shorted. Now, that means that every dollar that silver goes up, these European banks lose about, there's 6,605 that are non-US banks that are long, but those might not be European, right? We don't know. But what we do know is that every time that silver goes up, there's a net short position on the books that is substantially higher than the outside of the US, than the long position. I would say it's safe to say every time it goes up, global banks lose $200 million.
Right.
So if that's a dollar, now consider a move like we had over Christmas, where we had on Christmas Eve, we hit 74, which was impressive, and then on Boxing Day it shot right up to 79.25, and then on opening on Sunday night shot all the way up to 84. Well, that's a $10 move. We're talking about $2.5 billion lost in a day. Now, is that going to destroy all banks and the entire system? Not yet, but there are banks who do not have the best books and have some toxic assets on, and suddenly losing $2.5 billion in a day and not having that on hand could result, one might argue, in a bankruptcy or a bank going under. Banks do go under. Obviously, in 2008, that's one of the biggest examples that people that are listening probably remember. But it's happened many, many times in the past. Now, whether we have not been able to discover, and I have spent a fair bit of time on this, which bank this is, but everything that I've read points to UBS. out of
UBS, I
Switzerland.
see.
I'm not sure if that is the case. I can't verify that. I've tried very hard because I've been community noted, but I have not been able to verify yet. But what I do know is that what I just had you pull up shows almost beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a gigantic net short position that is making people bleed every time it goes up. So that is my thesis on why we're in a squeeze right now. But I actually don't think this is ultimately, and this is, everybody's obsessed with this, and this is interesting. And I mean, my tweet got 8.2 million views. So obviously people care a lot about this and want the banks to go under. And they see that as a big marker in the before time and the after time. But that actually, none of this is actually the reason that I think long-term silver is a good buy, and not actually why I bought it.
Well, that's actually a good point, because I was actually thinking, hey, this is where we need to swing into, is talking about the reason is and I think this is where you're going, is supply.
Yeah, so the reason that I believe in the silver thesis is because we are in the 7th year of yearly deficits of the amount that is being produced, both by mines and by recycling, being lower than the amount that is being consumed by industry, investment, jewelry, photography. I could go through a whole list of everything that uses silver. Solar panels are obviously huge now. And that supply gap is not getting better, it's getting worse. Now, here's where I think that, at least this is the part that I haven't read in many places, so maybe this is what I contribute, but I think that the Silver Institute has underestimated the supply deficit that we are going to have in 2025 by over 200 million ounces.
Right.
And here's how I've come to this conclusion. So at the beginning of every year, the Silver Institute, for those who don't know, they come out with a report where they lay out what the projected supply is, what the projected demand is. They break it down by industry. So you've got your, how much is photography going to use projected? How much is jewelry going to use projected? How much is there going to be for investment demand? How much are the solar companies going to use? How much are the EV companies going to use? How much are the battery companies going to use? It's all broken down. It's a big industry report. They do it every year. It's called the World Silver Survey, like you just pulled out. Now, a lot of people don't like the Silver Institute because they think they lie. I think I've caught them in potentially what either might be one of the biggest mistakes of their history or one of the biggest cover-ups of their history. But if you go to the 2025 report that came out in April, they project, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but it's 100. It's either 184 or 100.8 or like 108.4.
Yeah.
But that their projected deficit is somewhere in the 108 to 180 million ounce range for this year alone, for 2025. A couple of things have happened this year. First thing, in the first half of this year, ETF inflows for silver, they bought 95 million ounces. This is just SLV. Okay.
Yes.
They bought 95 million ounces in the first half of the year, which was more than all of the silver that was bought by ETFs in the first half, or in the whole of 2024. So they have not come out with how much silver was bought in this half of the year yet. But I think that if you look at the price, you can imagine that it would be substantially more than the first half of this year. Just because the more price goes up, that means the higher the demand is. That means that more people are buying. So right away, first half of the year, they've already blown it out of the water, right? The ETFs alone. That doesn't include the fact that Russia announced this year that they're going to be buying 35 million ounces. I think they already have. They're probably very happy with that investment. There's a huge amount of silver going to India. The Indian people are very obsessed with silver right now. So is China. But I think when you look at their report, and they project this 100 and, let's just call it somewhere in the mid 100 million, 150 million. I got to find the number so that I have it, but it's somewhere between 108 and 184. Well, the demand in the investment demand alone for this year, I think would eclipse that.
Right.
Let alone the fact that we are seeing every year the demand for solar, batteries, server farms, rockets. I mean, a good example is that every Tomahawk missile that the U.S. military builds requires 500 ounces of silver,
Wow.
right? So everything in our digital age needs some silver. And we're realizing that the more silver we use, the more efficient it is. There's a rumor going around that Samsung is going to begin mass producing a battery. This is the AI guy, the Asian AI guy that everyone's talking about in silver, put out a video about this. My parents even saw it. They sent it to me. I don't know if it's real or not, but what I do know is silver demand's not going down. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets interesting. This is the interesting part of my thesis. So since the beginning of recorded history, humans have pulled about 56 billion ounces of silver out of the ground. Okay.
Yeah. 56 billion.
And they say that about 45% of that's been destroyed or, isn't really usable anymore because silver, unlike gold, does deteriorate over time. And it's also used for things that's not easy to. I mean, there's tons of silver like in churches, right? That are like, you're not going to tear down the church to melt the silver to pay for stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people.
It's hard to recoup, from what I've been told. Yeah.
And now that's for most of human history, it was hard to recoup. Now it's being destroyed, right? And it's being destroyed because it's being used at a small level for so much technology that you can't really it's not worth melting a computer down to get the silver out of it. Right. It's not worth, destroying your phone to get the silver out of it.
Right.
It's not worth, recycling the battery of your car necessarily to get the silver out of it. Right. These things are not worth because the amount is small and it's added value and created more value in the product that you have. So you're not going to try to get the silver out of it.
Yeah.
Right now, industrial demand for silver is over 60% of mining supply every year.
Right.
Okay. However, if we go back to that first number, 56 billion ever mined, half of it, let's just say half of it gone. Right. So now we're at 28 billion.
28 billion.
And the vast majority of that is either in jewelry or, it's in places that it's been used to make things. We'll put it that way. According to the Silver Institute, the entire investable silver in the world at the beginning of this year, including what's held by the ETFs, what's held by sovereign nations, what's held by big banks, all of that silver combined is under 3 billion ounces. Okay? So there's only 3 billion ounces of silver, investable silver in the world, and that's stretching it. But 1.3 billion of that is in ETFs. Okay, so over almost half of all this investable silver in the world is owned by SLV. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or SLV and the other ETFs. So there's PSLV and then there's India has one, China has one, So all the ETFs together are 1.3 billion. All right. Well, now we're down to 1.7, and I'm being very generous here. Okay. Yep. Now we're down to 1.7 billion ounces of investable silver, except UBS came out with a report earlier this year that said it would be a 300 million ounce deficit for silver. 300 million next year.
Yeah.
Now
so that's
they're saying that for next year.
Yeah.
I think we're already at that this year, which means that's 600 million ounces at the end of next year, which means the entire investable supply of silver will be down to half. We're talking about by the end of next year, there only being 600 million ounces in the world of free float. Now, if that's true, and that's assuming SLV doesn't buy anymore, but the price is going up, SLV has to buy more. It's in there, right? Yeah. That's just SLV. There's all the other ETFs, right? And that's assuming that governments don't. Well, the United States government has listed it as a critical mineral. On January 1st, the Chinese government is going to be putting export restrictions on silver. They refine 90% of all investment silver in the world. If they put export restrictions on and they're stringent, that alone could be a massive price shock. But none of these individual events matter. Because if I'm right, and we are going to run a 300 million ounce deficit this year and potentially more next year.
Yeah.
Then within the decade, so before 2030, if prices don't go up substantially, we will literally run out. One of the math problems that I like to do on this one is to say, okay, let's assume it's actually 3 billion. A full 3 billion will include all the ETFs, everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Divide that by the number of people in the world.
Mm-hmm. So by 8.
By 8.6, right?
Yep.
No. 8.6 billion, right?
Yep.
So you divide 3 billion by 8.6 billion.
So what do you have? A quarter?
You're going to be at 1/34th. So 34% of an ounce.
Yeah.
So you're at 30%, 30 basically a third
1/3 of an ounce
for every person in the world.
Yeah.
You're telling me that, and so then of course then we go to the Pareto principle, right? You know, the 80-20 rule. Well, like 80% of people in the world are probably not going to own any silver, right?
Correct.
They're probably not wealthy enough. So let's just take them off the table and just say that there's only 1 billion people in the world that are gonna buy silver. Well, there's only 3 ounces for all of them.
That's 3 ounces per person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's extraordinary.
That's right now, but not even right now. This is important. That's not right now. That's in April. And do you know what the price of silver was in April?
No. Well, you know what? I'm guessing it was about.
It was in the high mid-30s.
Yeah.
So it's doubled. Now, I don't think that the price doubling necessarily means that demand is doubled. It doesn't usually work that way.
Yeah.
But it was $30, about $32 in April US. So call it $41, $42 Canadian.
Yes.
So we've seen a doubling in the price in a year where we're told that there's 3 billion ounces of investable silver, basically. And I'm talking investment grade. I'm not talking about, jewelry,
sure,
or plates or silverware or any of that kind of stuff, right? I'm only just talking about coins and bars and mostly 1,000-ounce bars, because that's what industry does, and that's what investment banks and big buyers buy is 1,000-ounce bars. There's not a lot of 1,000-ounce bars left. I think so that is the reason that I am so deeply into this thesis, because I actually don't think that there's any event that can occur that can stop this. There's only events that can occur that can accelerate it. So war always sends precious metals up.
Mm-hmm.
Depression, inflation, all these things, they all do stuff to silver, but reality is real, and supply and demand are laws. They're not theories of economics. And when you run out of supply and demand increases, you see parabolic moves. We're seeing a parabolic move right now, and I don't think, and this is where I think that the crypto guys and a lot of other people just kind of miss the mark, to be honest, on what's happening, because they look at these things through the lens of the status quo and markets and how they've behaved in the past and try to predict what that will mean for how they're going to behave in the future.
Mm.
That's not what's going on right now. By all the research that I've done and everything that I've learned, I would say what's happening right now is a repricing of commodities due to extreme fiscal mismanagement by global governments.
Wow. Okay, we're short on time. I know that you've got to run here very shortly. But I need to get this in because people are going to be wondering. I'm sure everybody's wondering. Okay, what do I do? Is this the top of the market, David? What do you think?
Yeah. So I do not think this is the top of the market at all, based on everything that I just said.
I would agree completely. Yeah.
I believe at least within a year, or well, I say 18 months. So by mid 2027, silver will be over $200 Canadian. I truly believe that. I think we're going to 200 American, but I really believe that we will see within the next 18 months, we will see a gold silver ratio of 30 to 1, which it's hit almost every time it's gone on a run in the past.
Yeah.
And right now, gold is obviously running too. Now, here's the thing. That 30 to 1 ratio is a double from here. But if gold goes up another $1,000, $2,000, which I don't think is at all at all outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, it definitely has possibility.
Then we're talking about, well, what's 30 to 1 there? So I'm trying to get my mind out of looking at things in fiat pricing, which is really hard to do. We're conditioned for it. It's the water we swim in. Everybody's looking at the price. Yeah. But actually, if you want to know what my goal has been ever since this thesis began, it was to get as many ounces as I could.
Sure.
And every time that I get an ounce, that's a victory. Now, am I happier when I get the ounce at 24 US, or I guess so, like 30 something Canadian versus now where it's 100? Yeah, no, I mean, it's a little harder at 100 for sure to go in there and buy them. But the thing is, if you don't have conviction at that level, then I don't think you have conviction, right? Then it's just a bet. So I actually massively increased my position yesterday morning.
I saw that. Yeah. That was pretty exciting.
At people could say a peak, because I don't think it's a peak. Because I think that if you line up all of the things that we've just talked about, I don't actually think we've even really got started. But there's other factors to this too. I mean, this is a very big thesis that I put together. But one of the other factors that I think is really not being taken into nearly as much consideration as it should be is when you're looking at aging populations, you're going to see economic stagnation, right? And we're not just seeing aging populations in Canada or America or Europe. The whole world is aging.
Right.
I mean, South Korea in 3 generations will disappear at its current birth rate. And we're seeing Turkey is down to extinction level.
Basically. Is that right? Wow.
They're at, I think 1.45. Canadians are at 1.25. Like
what?
Yeah, that's the end. Right?
Wow.
You don't come back from that. What frightens me, and I know what frightens Elon Musk because he tweets about it a lot, is that no nation has ever come back from that.
Right. Ever. They haven't. So that's why he has 11 kids.
Yeah, I guess with multiple women and not married to any of them. And there's, he's living his life. But
okay, so
is this the top? I'll try to summarize what I just said. Is this the top? Do we think that things have got as bad as they're going to get? I guess is my question. I certainly don't. I think we have a long way to go before people realize how much they've been lied to, how broken their money is, how broken their governments are. Our institutions are crumbling around us. So when that happens, reality is going to reassert itself. I call it the revenge of reality. And I believe we are in the beginning stages of silver and gold and actually platinum and copper and a whole bunch of other things are sending a signal that you can't print your way into prosperity.
Real money. We're going to get into real money probably is what we're going to have to get into, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's silver.
Yeah.
And to a lesser extent, Bitcoin, I would say. Yeah. And gold, obviously.
Okay, so the way that you're leaving us off, I think that we need to have an episode 2. Are you able to do that in the new year?
Yes, in the new year for sure. I can definitely do that.
Let's do that, because we have there's a number of things that we still need to touch on, but I think that what is happening is also awakening people, and that also helps. And I would just want to leave off at this, but our Alberta independence,
Yes.
100%. I believe that helps.
Very exciting. In what, 3 days now, we're going to be able to begin collecting signatures for the petition.
In 3 days? I thought it was January 12th.
Nope, the 2nd, as far as I've been told by Jeff. So I think that's the day that we get approved. So I might be wrong.
Yeah.
So don't quote me on that, but that's the day that I have in my head that I've been tweeting about, and nobody said, "Hey, it's not happening on that day." So
that's okay to get extra excited and maybe be ready for the starting gun, but that's okay. David, I know that you got to go. I don't want to keep you any longer, and I appreciate your time. It has been an immense pleasure. Obviously, I've got your X profile up here if anybody wants to find you, and we'll be watching for any of your other interesting tweets that you come out with.
Well, I do enjoy myself, maybe a little bit too much on there, but it's become quite a fun little playground, I must say. So,
well, it's certainly much better now that Elon Musk.
If Elon hadn't bought it, I never would have invested the amount of time that I have into it.
Well, thank you so much. God bless you, and Happy New Year, because I probably won't talk to you before that. But I know that you've got to run. I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience. And
all right,
do you want to say anything before you? Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much, and God bless everyone. Make sure to get this out to more eyeballs. Make sure that people see what is happening. We are going to try to wake up people for people. What is going on with Canada? You know, this silver run has got to be helpful for people to wake up. So make sure that more people understand what's going on. We're going to head off to this building of Alberta, the nation. And I appreciate you being here. Make sure to get more eyeballs on this information. And let's join in. Keep your head on a swivel. Let's stay sane together. This is Bruce, and I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching Unscrew the News. I appreciate your participation in freedom in Canada. Share this information and help others to wake up. God bless.